So Donald Trump is now talking about attacking Mexico. And I want to go over the latest as yes, it's absolutely insane. Headline then Trump announces ground attacks against cartels in Mexico. You also have this Trump suggests the U.S. military will hit cartels on land again in Mexico. And you have to put this all in context. We just kidnapped the president of Venezuela. We're threatening Colombia, Cuba. The last headlines lately in the news was military option being considered on Greenland. They always talk about Canada and just the list goes on. And now we're talking about Mexico today. My opinion, basically, Trump's poll numbers are absolutely crashing. And so he's like, okay, I'll just start wars whenever I can. This was actually from Fox News, and I'll go over with you. It says, President Trump suggested in a new interview, that was the one on Fox News, that the U.S. military could launch land strikes on drug cartels in Mexico. Quote, we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by water, and we're going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. And that was with Sean Hannity. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very sad to watch and see what's happened to that country. And just think about this. So in Trump's mind, if the cartels are running Mexico, then if we knock them out, then I guess theoretically, then Trump will want to run Mexico because they keep talking about that they're running Venezuela. And I guess we're moving all our ships to Venezuela. And now we're talking about effectively bombing Mexico. I don't know if we're using ground forces or whatever, but hitting land is what he says here. Quote, the president has many options at his disposal to continue to protect our homeland from illicit narcotics that kill tens of thousands of Americans every year. And the reason why they have to use this kind of language, have to say this is an imminent threat, therefore we need to use the military, attack, right? Quote, would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? Okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. That's what we're talking about. And I also want to put this in context. For Trump's dystopian USA, basically you have to create an eternal enemy, right? You need someone always to fight. And then when you have someone always to fight, be it Venezuela, Mexico, Greenland, whatever, then you can raise the military budget. Because see, look at all these dangers. We need to spend more money on the military. And so this just came out this week, putting it all in context. Trump said he wants to raise the U.S. military budget by 50% in 2027. Now, there's obviously the moral implication of this, but let's just talk about the math. I'll get into the moral stuff in a moment here. But the math. So this also just came out. Trump's 1.5 trillion military budget would add 5.8 trillion to the national debt, right, with interest. Basically, he's looking to bankrupt USA. Okay, that's the best way to describe it. And Trump's USA, the wealth gap gets bigger, right? The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. You have eternal world wars, spend all of our money on the military, right? There's never enough money for healthcare and schools, but man, we got plenty of money for bombs, so let's keep bombing. U.S. launches fresh military strikes on ISIS targets in Syria. It says there are 30 targets, I guess, what it says, targets which took aim at more than 30 targets are part of Operation launched last month. So this was today. Warplanes and drones dropped more than 90 bombs on roughly 3 dozen targets. And you guys, I'm sure you know this. This is millions of dollars that we're spending on this stuff. And again, you need to have this forever enemy. And then you station troops in places, that are unstable, unsafe. Some of our soldiers get hurt, right? Some even killed. And you're like, okay, we got to get revenge. Right? And that's what you end up doing. And you get stuck in this stuff for years. And this is where all the money goes. And it's why things don't improve in USA. I just want to make the connections here, make it really clear. And then this is, it's hard to even keep track of all this stuff. I look at it all the time. It's just, I can't know every single detail. Like 11 tankers now under U.S. sanctions defy blockade in Venezuela, satellite imagery indicates. So there's all these ships going, and then Trump's got the Navy chasing all this stuff. So it's going to cost a lot of fuel, personnel, and time to track down all of these things. And the question of legality of any of this stuff that he's up to, let alone, right, we just kidnapped the president of Venezuela. And then you put this in context, okay? While we're spending all this money on the military, this is your headline then from the Wall Street Journal. Slowest labor market in years leaves job seekers stuck. And remember Trump, he came in saying, hey guys, I'm going to make everything better for you, where jobs are basically disintegrating right now. And we talk about the job market, the numbers and stuff like that. And you read the description of it. This is just your average American's life here. They say America's unemployment rate is low, but I think that's going to tick up. I must be frank with you guys. I think it's going to tick up this year. But so is its job growth. That means Americans without stable full-time work are locked out of the job market that has settled into a low fire stasis. Here's more. People without jobs are enduring longer searches, so it's hard to find something, and millions of people are stringing together multiple gigs to get by. So a lot of part-time work, DoorDash, etc., that kind of stuff. I know it's frustrating to go through these things, but I just want to make the connections with you. If you have a bad economic environment, right? Some people will look for escape. For some people, escape is going to be through whatever substances or whatever, and then that stuff can come up through Mexico, and you got a bunch of industry of that, right? It's like the industry of escape. And I just want to give you an alternative. What if we spend our money on education? Just think about that. Because I grew up in the USA. I remember, in fact, they ran a whole campaign. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? Like it was a major campaign, and for me it worked. And I went to school, and teachers show you like what happens to you if you get addicted to said stuff, and they basically scare the crap out of you. And I was like, I'm never doing that stuff. And it worked for me. It's education, and that's just one facet of it. Let's say, okay, Chris, I hate education. I want to do that. Okay. So what if you have like really good economic opportunities for people so people don't feel depressed and people don't need to escape, right? So I think addressing demand in USA would be a really big factor. And I got no problem too funding the FBI to make sure that we're fighting this kind of stuff. Like it's two problem, but from Trump's and Elon Musk, they want to fire everyone in the government and replace you all with AI and drones and such. It's all a grift. And then, then you have like this eternal war against, Mexico or whoever. And it's like, oh, look how we can profit off this said things. And then when they talk about like spending the money, I guess what we want to do now is, possibly buy off Greenland, each person, give them up to $100,000. This was actually even a report on Fox News now, the Greenland thing. And then if you add all that up, 57,000 Greenlanders times, I guess, whatever, 100,000, that comes to $6 billion roughly, right? And you have to understand this, okay? A lot of this has to do with government contracts. So you spend all this money to create all this stuff. The Greenland, we're probably going to go there to get whatever rare earth minerals to create our drones, right? And then the drones are going to be used for our forever enemies. And then who gets the government contracts to build said drones? So this just came out in the Wall Street Journal today. That's why I always say follow the money. Pentagon chooses DOGE official and former Trader 2 head innovation unit. Of course they do. So some dude who's connected to Elon Musk. Oh, by the way, you're going to be in charge of assigning government contracts. And when you read the description, you'll understand it. It should be crystal clear. Listen, the Defense Department has selected Owen West, so that's the guy I just showed you, a former Wall Street trader, so he's going to have investment and money connections, and a Marine, so he'll know people in the military, to lead its defensive innovative unit. Okay, the department's highest profile unit tasked with bringing, get this, startup technology into the U.S. military, according to department officials. So his job is basically, okay, go find startups, new technology, right? So basically startup companies. And, oh, by the way, there's some new startups by the Trump kids. Hey, we're building drones, right? We partner with whatever. And or we're going to do crypto, and crypto is going to be protect America safe, right? And this is how they trick everyone. They always tell you there's a constant danger, eternal enemy. We're going to protect you. Okay, great. Let's spend all our money on the military. And then government contracts go to Elon Musk, maybe Trump's kids or whatever. I'm showing you guys how this game is played. And then, oh, by the way, we fired all the previous people before. So it shows right here that they fired a whole bunch of people, and now they're hiring the Musk people, basically. And it says right here, he began working there early last year as a lead Pentagon staffer with Elon Musk's Department of DOGE, right? Of course he did. Here's more. The idea is that they're going to get a bunch of drones by 2027. They're going to call these things low cost. And to them, low cost, I'll read it. Some industry leaders have cast doubt that American companies can build drones for $5,000 a piece. So that's what they're trying to build. Bunch of drones, spend $1 billion or so, $5,000 a piece. Get Elon Musk guy to choose who gets the contracts to build said things. And again, we have to have eternal enemies. Otherwise, why would we build these things? Oh, well, you got all these threats you got to worry about. And let's put our people in harm's way. They get hurt. Oh, let's send the drones or whatever after them. And you have to understand this is that it's also an information war with the Trump people. So, for example, they want to rewrite history. They changed one of the photos and one of the plaques in the Smithsonian. This just came out today. Smithsonian removes Trump impeachment text as it swaps his portrait. So basically, they changed the picture of Trumpers there. That's the new one. And basically, what it is that I think he's worried about getting impeached again after midterms, which will be the, I think, third time. And if you remove the text, then it's kind of out of the discussion that they, had done it before. And I just wanted to point this out, like, it is possible. You can certainly impeach this guy. I mean, there's any number of these scandals. Like normally in a normal country, just for example, if say, hey, you're appointing your friends to the Pentagon that's in charge of selecting contracts for startup technologies, and then said, startup companies are like your son's connected companies, like that would get you impeached and removed in pretty much any normal country. That's just one thing, let alone talking about attacking Mexico and starting war there, kidnapping president of Venezuela, whatever. I mean, it's just the list goes on. But some people do push back in different ways, and I just want to show you guys what's going on. So the Washington National Opera is moving out of the Kennedy Center. Remember, Trump just recently put his name on this thing. Like, our news is just whacked out every day, and this is what we're fighting over, who's in the Kennedy Center. And I wouldn't be shocked if everyone just leaves and just abandons the place, because remember, they canceled concerts there also too for New Year's Eve. Or people are protesting this weekend, and the Trump people then are going to arrest you, I guess. Police arrest 29 people during overnight protests in Minneapolis. And again, this is all about the information war. Plus, obviously you have all the corruption that Trump wants to do, but it's important to talk about it. I know it's not fun to talk about all the crazy crap that Trump is doing on nonstop. I mean, I don't want to have to talk about, hey, great, we're taxing Mexico and these people got hurt and these people, targets got hit or whatever, and now we're stuck there and we're building a base in Mexico. I mean, that's probably the news going forward. Like if you do this kind of stuff, it's just ridiculous. But it's important to expose how this corruption works. So, for example, this was an interesting one. I guess they put a new person as their anchor at CBS. So this would have Trump ties, right? The whole Paramount thing. Tony Dokopil, I guess his name is, sets new tone for CBS Evening News in the first week as anchor, and they had a big flub on air. But the question is going to be, are they going to go more kind of the Fox News route? There's a professor of media that had a comment on this, and I'll read the person's comment. I think it's really good. He says, conceivably, there's a market niche for broadcast news for something slightly right of center. So this is theoretically where CBS could go. Not MAGA TV all the time like Fox, but a little more open to the possibility that Trump is not always wrong. That's dangerous if it normalizes some very bad stuff, but CBS could be also a place, kind of like the Wall Street Journal, where if you report critically on the administration, it will have more impact than if it comes from the usual suspects. But that's a big if, especially as long as there's uncertainty about the merger with the Warner Brothers Discovery. And so the question is in some, broadcasts, be it Fox, say, oh, Trump is always right. Other broadcasts, oh, Trump is always wrong. And then if you kind of mix it in there, but then have sort of key things to where they'll support Trump, it'll have real damaging effects on the country. Like the media landscape matters quite a bit. What I try to do every day, I come in with you guys, talk about what's going on, just give you honest opinions on this stuff. Trump just happens to be, we'll just say this, not correct on many things. He lies constantly. But it doesn't necessarily mean that, you just have to make up stuff, because I do think facts do matter. They changed the portrait over there at the Smithsonian. They removed any kind of impeachment language or whatever, and they want to control the narrative in history, right? There's no way really you can read this as being good. I understand Fox News will say, oh, well, everyone just lies about history or whatever. It's just like, no, you're impeached twice. It's like factual stuff. And this is the kind of world that I think is important to keep. And there is a lot of pushback. There's a lot of protests going on this weekend. So just understand you're not alone. But I also understand that, unfortunately, a lot of people don't pay attention to this stuff because the average American, they're more concerned about putting food on the table, which I can totally understand, right? I completely understand. You got a terrible job market. Things are really expensive. And so many people don't necessarily pay attention to this stuff. But the thing is while regular people are struggling, in order to help said regular people, strengthen education, strengthen infrastructure, right? Don't waste all our government money on, drone dollars to Elon Musk and his buddies. And this is sort of, again, why life doesn't improve in USA if you misallocate funds and it's basically just all the military or whatever. So that's my thoughts on this stuff. I hope you guys understand what's going on, and do be safe out there, and I'll catch you all in the next video.